the Hindu business line. It gives me great pleasure in welcoming all of you to Invest in Your Gateway to Europe, Belgium event this afternoon. I request all of you to please take your seats and put your mobile phones on vibrate or silent mode. I repeat, we're requesting all of you to please put your mobile phones on silent or on vibrate mode. We will be starting in 2 minutes. Thank you. A very good afternoon to one and all present here. Vanakkam Vandanam, ladies and gentlemen. The Consulate General of Belgium to South India and the Hindu Business Line jointly present to you Invest in Your Gateway to Europe Belgium event. It gives me great pleasure in being your host this afternoon. My name is Sahitya Jagannathan, and it is indeed my privilege to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, this afternoon promises to be an interactive seminar and a networking event that is unlike any other. Because if there's anything that I know of Belgians that I've known in the last years, they're some of the friendliest people that I've ever met. So this is going to be nothing like any of the other business events you've been to. So be prepared to make business ties that hopefully last a lifetime, and along the way, you're definitely going to be having some new friends in your life as well. Ladies and gentlemen, today we will also be discussing nuances of trade and business opportunities. And before we get started, we'd like to take a moment to thank some of our partners. So I'm going to request all of you to please put your hands together and thank our business partner, Vicky. And if you can continue to show the same appreciation for our official partners, Siki and NASCOM as well. And if you'd all join me in welcoming the trade representatives from Flanders, Wallonia, and Brussels. So please, can we show them a lovely Chennai-style welcome? Thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start with an informative speech by His Excellency, the Consul General of Belgium to South India, Mr. Mark van der Vreken.
Yeah, thank you, Sahitya. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming with so many people today. First, I'm going to thank also a couple of people, and to mention some people here as well. We have today an honorary guest, and maybe if you can also raise your hand, that is Mr. Renaat Schroten, who is sitting here in front. Mr. Schroten is the Economy Secretary of the Belgian Ministry of Economics. He came over especially to India for this seminar. Yesterday we also organized it in Delhi. And he will give a presentation about investing in Belgium, but he's also an expert on Brexit, so anything you want to know about Brexit, don't be afraid to ask. Also, of course, our partners need to be thanked. We have Mr. Arun of FICCI, the chairman of FICCI. We have Mr. Balasubramanian of NASCOM, and we have Mr. Ramachandran of SICCI. So thank you, all of you, and also, of course, the Hindu Business Line, as our co-producer, I would say, of the event, for making this a success. And then, of course, three people that need to be mentioned in particular this afternoon. Belgium is a federal country. This means that bilateral trade and investment are the competence of the regions. And these are, as Sahitya just said, Flanders, Wallonia, and Brussels. So this is a joint initiative with the three regions. We have Giant Nadiger, who is the representative of Flanders Investment and Trade. We have Mr. Joachim Galland, who is the representative of AWEX based in Brussels. And then last but not least, we have Jean-François Arnouds, who is the representative of Brussels Invest and Export, based in Chennai, and Giant is based in Bangalore. What will happen this afternoon is we will try to limit our seminar strictly to 2 hours. There will be 2 technical panels. A first one will be technical people who come to explain you practical details about investing in Belgium, be it in the field of customs, in the field of taxation, in the field of port and logistics. We have a speaker on GDPR, so a couple of technical questions that will be dealt with. And then a second roundtable, which I would call the cherry of the cake of this afternoon, is the roundtable of the regions of Flanders, Wallonia, and Brussels, where the 3 trade representatives each bring one of their investors, Indian investors in Flanders, Brussels, and Wallonia, who will give a testimony. We try to limit that into 2 hours, because then we want you to get 1 hour for interactions. And every partner to this event will have a separate table. So whatever you want to know about, anything you want to ask about all the topics that have been discussed today, you can ask it on a bilateral basis. Not going to take too much of your time, just a few things. Well, last year, of course, was the state visit of Their Majesties the King and the Queen to India. That was a big highlight. We celebrated also 70 years of diplomatic relations last year. Another thing is that the Consulate General for South India, based in Chennai, this month exists 5 years. So that is a nice thing as well. And the reason why a Consulate General was set up here in the south of India is, of course, because a lot of things are happening here. I was just last week in Hyderabad. I will be back with FIT next week in Bangalore and Hyderabad. There's a lot of things happening in Chennai. The south of India is really the economic engine of India, and it's a combination of a bit of everything. You have a couple of Silicon Valleys. You have the Detroit of India. You have the Texas of India. You have basically everything in the south of India. A few things about our trade relations. We are Belgium's second exporter of goods to Europe's EU's second exporter of goods to India, the EU's third importer of goods from India, the 11th largest trading partner of India. And all in all, our population is 11 million. That's about half of the population of New Delhi, but at the same time, we're also the 25th biggest economy in the world with only 11 million people. Now, we can brag about our trade figures, that we are indeed the second and the third important importer and exporter, but around 75 to 80% of that is diamond. So what we want to do also is to diversify our relations. That was the theme of the state visit last year, which was basically towards an innovative partnership between Belgium and India. So we have a bit of everything in Belgium. We have a very rich industrial background. We were actually in Europe the first country where the Industrial Revolution happened in the 19th century. And as a result of that, our infrastructure was built along industrial needs. And that is still something that is very interesting for you if you want to invest in Belgium at the heart of Europe, really nearby 500 million wealthy consumers. But we are also the most, or one of the most innovative nations in the world. And of course, the other speakers will come back to that. But look at our universities, for example. They're all top-notch. University of Leuven recently has been ranked the 7th most innovative university in the world and the most innovative university in Europe. We have public-private research centers, for example, IMEC, which is the world's leading company in the field of microelectronics and nanoparticles. Last Saturday, I still had a meeting with Mohan Reddy of Scient, and he visited the University of Leuven and IMEC recently, and he said he was completely impressed by it. So everything, whether you talk about nanotech, about biotech, about life sciences, pharma, clean tech, whatever industry that requires R&D, Belgium is a world player. And the World Economic Forum's Global Competitiveness Report of 2016-17 ranked Belgium at the top for R&D, innovation and collaboration between industry, academia and government. Of course, there's much more than economics. We have an outstanding lifestyle, a dynamic cultural heritage, very nice medieval cities. We're also a green country, with a virtually untouched landscape from the beaches and polders of the North Sea to the rolling hills of the Ardennes. We are known for our artists and painters, the Flemish masters such as Bruegel, Rubens, Jordaens. We have impressionists, expressionists. We have surrealists such as Magritte, who is also very popular in India. We're the country of Jacques Brel and so many other things. We're also the country of around 135 restaurants that have a Michelin star, which is the highest number of Michelin-starred restaurants per capita in the world. And also, but Malini, you will talk more about that, I think. Our ports are of key importance. Malini is the representative of the Port of Antwerp. She's based in Mumbai, but came to Chennai today. Antwerp is the second largest port in Europe, the second largest petrochemical cluster in the world after Houston, Texas. And when I ask people, actually it was your director for international affairs who gave me the idea. He asked people on a roadshow here in Chennai last year, do you know the Ruhr area in Germany? Everyone knows. That is the main productive base of Germany. And the question is, which port is closest to the Ruhr area? And then everyone says Hamburg. No, it's not Hamburg. It's Antwerp. So Antwerp is not only an important port for Belgium, but also for France, also for Germany, for the entire Europe. And that's one of the ports. We have the port of Zeebrugge. Some of the people who are here are already investing in Zeebrugge. We have the ports of Ostend, Ghent, and then also the inland ports of Liège and Brussels. So we have a vast network. I'm not going to keep you on because the program and the schedule is tight. So have a productive meeting this afternoon, and I'm looking forward to meeting you all later today, and consider investing in Belgium, because I think it really pays off for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Next, I'd like to invite onto the stage Mr. R.M. Arun, Chairman, FICCI, Tamil Nadu. Sir, if you'd please, we'd like you to say a few words to the audience.
Mr. Bach, Van den Werken, Consul General of Belgium in Chennai, Mr. Renard Schruten, Secretary, Belgian Ministry of Economy, Mr. Hari Subramanian, Head India Operations of the Coldroit Group, members from industry, chambers, and consulates, members from the media, ladies and gentlemen. Wishing you a very good afternoon. On behalf of FICCI's Tamil Nadu State Council, I extend a warm welcome to each of you on the occasion of this useful interaction on Invest in Belgium, your gateway to Europe. India today is the world's 6th largest economy, with a GDP of $2.37 trillion. We overtook France last year and are poised to be overtaking the UK shortly. After a successful implementation of the Goods and Services Tax, GST, India's economy has not only stabilized, but has been growing well over 7% quarter on quarter. Our government has been pushing for close to high single-digit growth, which not only is essential, but completely feasible. As in any economy, our MSMEs, the medium, small, and micro enterprises, form an integral part of industry. Our government has recognized and has been supporting this industry with various measures to boost growth. Importantly, also access to the most needed growth financing. Indian companies these days don't just look within the domestic market, but are extremely keen to grow well beyond our boundaries. This very much includes our MSMEs as well. Our state of Tamil Nadu is one of the most progressive, ranking 3rd in GDP. We have traditionally been a manufacturing state across industries, including automotive, electronics, chemicals and petrochemicals, textiles, and leather. Our services industry has also grown drastically over the last couple of decades, with IT-enabled services and healthcare leading the way. Diplomatic relations between India and Belgium were established in 1948. Our bilateral relations have been extremely cordial and friendly. In recent times, Belgium has acknowledged the growing importance of India's global role, both in the political as well as economic spheres, and in this context has emphasized the value of the strengthening economic relations between our two countries. Belgium's central geographic location and highly developed transport network have helped develop a well-diversified economy with a broad mix of transport, services, manufacturing, and high-tech. Belgium has emerged as one of India's most important trading partners in the EU. India's IT sector is well represented in Belgium, with all our big IT companies having their establishments. Several Indian companies in the chemical sector have also established offices and warehousing facilities in Belgium. Moreover, quite a few of our banks, the SBI, ICICI, Bank of Baroda, and Bank of India, also have operations in Belgium. Belgian business interests in India cover energy, ports, dredging, construction, and so on. There are about 150 Belgian companies formally established in India. And as Mr. Mark has mentioned, Belgium's second largest export destination and third largest trade partner outside the EU has been India. For India, Belgium has been the third largest trading partner in the EU. One recent data that was provided was that during 2017-18, our trade was $12 billion. However, during 2013-14, 4 years behind that, it was $17 billion. Trade has hence come down about $5 billion over the last 4 years. Certainly, the price of diamond has played a role. Trade has certainly been skewed towards gems and jewelry. There is hence an urgent need to be able to drastically increase the current engagements as well as diversify into other lines as soon as possible. Today's deliberations reinforces the desire of both countries to pursue the objective of bilateral trade and economic relations. The level and scale of our bilateral trade is a pragmatic indicator of the miles that we have traversed and the potential that remains to be tapped. I wish to appreciate the Consulate General of Belgium in Chennai for the thorough preparations and thoughtful arrangements for organizing today's event. In this context, I would also like to share with you a message from Dr. A.C. Muthaiya. As most of you would already know, Dr. Muthaiya has been the past president of FICCI, but most importantly, he has also been the Honorary Consul of Belgium in Chennai for over 25 years before the consulate was established. Having played these dual roles in the past and not being able to attend today's program, he requested me to convey his congratulations for today's program. He also wishes each of you the most fruitful discussions today and in the time to come. In closing, FICCI TNSE, under my chairmanship, is committed to extending the needful support to the Consulate General of Belgium in Chennai. We look forward to the conclusions drawn from today's session, bringing about significant growth in trade and mutual investment within our countries. Thank you, and looking forward.
Thank you, sir. Next, I'd like to welcome on stage Mr. Renard Schroten, Secretary Economy, Belgian Ministry of Economy. Sir, if you'd please, to present the keynote speech on Invest in Belgium post-Brexit. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure most of you have had lunch, so please feel free to put your hands together, make some noise. Let's work off some of those calories. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'll just try to figure this out a little bit. Let me first of all start by saying that it is a real honor for me to be here today in Chennai. Yesterday we were indeed in New Delhi because India is an important economic partner to Europe and indeed to Belgium. As some have already stated the figures, your economic performance with yearly growth figures in the range of 7+% are extraordinary, and they reflect the importance of the Indian economy for global growth. In preparing for this event, I went through the August edition of the International Monetary Fund's Country Focus on India, and the title stated, "India's strong economy continues to lead global growth." I think that message says it all. Being here today and witnessing firsthand this energy and the economic ambition of the country is very enriching for me. In the coming minutes, I will address three topics. First, I will go through some of the assets, the potential and the opportunities that Belgium has to offer for Indian companies and investors. Secondly, I will elaborate on the global importance of the European single market and the role Belgium is playing in this market. And thirdly and lastly, I will say a few words indeed on Brexit and its impact on the European internal market and on Belgium in particular. Ladies and gentlemen, when Their Majesties the King and Queen of Belgium visited India now exactly 1 year ago, they were accompanied by about 80 Belgian companies. This economic presence during the visit shows the importance that Belgium attaches to our mutual business and investment relations. As already has been said, after Germany, Belgium is one of the largest European exporters of goods to India. And although diamond is very important in that export and import, there is more. And there is potential for even more. And let me highlight this potential with some facts and figures. First, it's obvious, but one has to repeat it. Belgium has a very central location in the heart of Europe, with easy access to other European countries, and of course with the presence of key institutions of the European Union, which makes Belgium not only a geographical heart of Europe, but also the heart of European decision-making. As a centrally located and extremely open economy, Belgium can call itself with reason the gateway to Europe for foreign companies. Earlier this year, the World Bank ranked Belgium the third most logistically friendly country in the world, reflecting the complex multimodal integration of roads, rails, airports, rivers and harbors. Only this week, as you probably know, it has been reported that the Chinese internet giant Alibaba will build its new European mega distribution center near Liège airport in the southern part of the country. In general, according to Switch Research, Belgium is the third most globalized economy in the world, offering a highly accommodating economic, political and social environment for foreign investors. As a globalized and open economy, the digital transformation of our economy is of utmost importance for Belgium. We rank 6th in the Digital Economy and Society Index for 2017. We rank 3rd in connectivity and 5th in the integration of digital technology by businesses. On this picture, you see an inside of the Google data center in Saint-Guilain, Belgium. This is one of the 12 worldwide data centers Google is operating and one of only 3 in Europe. For choosing Belgium, choosing the Belgian location, Google quoted in 2007, amongst others, a strong vision by the authorities for how the internet can bring economic benefits and growth. By the way, this facility, which became fully operational in 2010, was the first Google data center worldwide to run entirely without refrigeration, using instead an advanced cooling system that draws grey water from a nearby industrial canal. It underlines our ambition to organize our economy in a circular and durable way. As an open economy with a global orientation, as the Consul General already cited, we can offer foreign investors a world-class R&D infrastructure. Belgium is a consistently strong performer in R&D and innovation with universities that guarantee academic excellence. The World Economic Forum ranks Belgium indeed among the top 10 countries of globally innovating research centers, and Reuters, as the Consul General already stated, has quoted Belgium's Catholic University of Leuven as the world's first non-US university in terms of innovation. This cutting-edge research is combined with a relentless investment in the cooperation between our universities and industries, allowing the research and the results of this research to be brought to the market. And very importantly, to support this business potential of innovation efforts, we have a favorable tax regime for R&D investments. The fact of Belgium being historically a test market for foreign companies gives our experts and our workforce a lot of know-how in implementing complex and innovative business ideas. And in doing so, our workforce is productive. On a global ranking, we have the second highest labor productivity per hour worked, where we do better than neighboring countries like the Netherlands, France, Denmark, or Germany. To conclude this first part of my presentation, let me explain to you how our government at the moment is focusing on structural economic reforms to create a business-friendly environment in the areas of smart company taxation, investment incentives, labor cost reduction, easy of setting up a business, and in the field of competitive corporate real estate market support. Let me elaborate a bit on 3 of these points. Within our smart company taxation scheme, Belgium has started to structurally reform corporate taxation. We are decreasing the nominal corporate taxation base from 34% to 29% this year, and we will further decrease it to 25% in 2020. Combined with the notional interest deduction, which allows you to deduct the cost of capital as if it were borrowed, we offer foreign investors an intelligent and competitive tax regime. Furthermore, Belgium is implementing an important tax shift away from labor. This will lower social contributions from 33% to 25%, and this measure is increasing purchasing power and is making Belgian labor costs more competitive. In parallel, we continue to pursue a series of actions to reform the labor market, providing more flexibility to workers and to companies. This contributes to maintaining educated, motivated, skilled human capital, which remains, after all, the backbone of our economy. And last but not least, we have numerous benefits for employing expatriates. On real estate, to say briefly some words about this, we succeed in remaining very competitive in comparison with other European economic centers, both on the level of industrial real estate, as you see here, as on the level of prime offices rent, as you see on this slide. Even though Brussels is the capital of Europe, we're still in the lower end of the costs related to prime offices rent in relation to other European economic centers. Ladies and gentlemen, the subject of this seminar is twofold. We do not only discuss today investment opportunities in Belgium, but we also discuss how to use Belgium as a gateway to the European single market. As you probably know, this year the European Union celebrates the 25th anniversary of this European single market. The free movement of goods, services, persons and capital inside this world's largest economic area generates annually over 15 trillion euros GDP and a consumer market of around 500 million inhabitants. Consumers, but also and certainly also businesses located in this market are able to benefit from considerable competitive opportunities. Now, it is important to underline that Belgium is fully committed to the future of this single market. If you decide to develop your business in Europe, starting from Belgium, you know that you are at the moment, and you will be in the future, operating in the single market. There is no question about that. At this very moment, I would almost say as we speak, the European Commission and national governments are reflecting on how to further develop this single market in the years to come. The outcome of this discussion is not yet decided, but it is clear that the future development of the single market will start from a global perspective. The European Union wants to provide a globally competitive environment to businesses, and Belgium very much will be part of this environment. In doing so, we will have to come with an ambitious plan to interlink our overall single market policy, our digitalization policy, and our industrial policy. And the talks going on at the moment are precisely on this ambitious plan. The European Parliament estimates that tapping into this full potential of the single market reform may boost European Union's GDP by somewhere between 5 and 9%, as well as may lead to the creation of at least 7.5 million jobs by 2030. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, our governments are these days reflecting on how to further develop the single market. But sadly, as you know, there is also Brexit, or the decision of the UK to leave the European Union in March 2019. Now, the news sites are these days, and especially today, full of reports on potential agreements and potential new difficulties between the UK side and the EU side. And as we do not have yet a full insight in the details of what is being discussed or what might be the potential agreement, I will not elaborate too much on these details, but what I certainly want to do is to show you the timeline of the negotiations and the milestones that have been established last year. I don't know whether anybody can read this list of milestones, but as you can see, starting from October, November 2018, where we are at the moment, there are a lot of question marks. And though the Consul General said that I'm an expert on Brexit and my services are working daily on the potential impact of Brexit, the question marks are still there. We don't know yet what the real outcome of the discussions will be, but it's important to know that the date is, of course, 29th of March next year, when the UK legally, formally would normally leave the European Union. The idea now is that there will be a transition period of about 1.5 years up to the end of 2020, and during this period, basically, and a bit simplified, nothing really will change, but the big question is what will come afterwards. And there, unfortunately, we don't have yet a clear view on where the discussions will land in the coming days, weeks, months, or who will say. But whatever the final outcome might be, it is important to underline also another thing, that is that Belgium as a country will keep on investing intensely to maintain a close economic and political relationship with the UK, even after the departure out of the European Union. We continue to hope at the moment that the UK will opt to establish a customs union with the EU based on a respect for the 4 fundamental freedoms of the European internal market. But if this is not the case, and if this is not acceptable to the UK government and parliament, the European Union will work towards establishing, at least that is what Belgium hopes, an ambitious free trade agreement with a particular focus on regulatory cooperation and custom facilitation. But evidently, Brexit, and especially a hard Brexit scenario, will have an impact on businesses. So, on a technical note, let me briefly touch upon how Belgian government administrations and Belgian government agencies included the Federal Public Service economy that I'm representing today, can offer specific support to your businesses and companies that wish to maintain a stable and predictable foothold in the European internal market, and how they can be and remain close to the European decision-making process. As Director General of the Directorate dealing with economic analysis and international economy, my services are active at European and international level with our colleagues from Foreign Affairs and all other administrations and agencies concerned on market access, free trade agreements, technical barriers to trade, rules of origin, trade defense instruments, and delivering of licenses for import and export. Now, based on this experience and this competence, we know that Brexit can and probably will have an important impact on the trade of goods. In the case of a free trade agreement scenario, and once again I underline this is only a scenario up to now because we don't have yet any conclusions, decisions, but even in the case of a positive free trade agreement, and even if import taxes would become zero, companies may have to fulfill the preferential rules of origin as stipulated in free trade agreements. Now that brings a lot of red tape. At the same time, exporters can miss out on preferences as the UK is no longer part of the European Union. So the situation will be not easy, even though, once again, we don't have the facts yet all figured out. But the bottom line is this. Management of rules of origin and the import and export administration will become more difficult in the future. So our services, in combination with the other services concerned, are there to help you and to support you in understanding what is happening and taking the necessary steps in order to stay compliant with all new potential things that will be asked from businesses. And the real bottom line is the following. If you really want an easy life, and if you really want to do business in Europe, come to business. And even better, come to Belgium, because we are part and we will remain part of the single European market. Ladies and gentlemen, oops, that is one too far. In just over 50 minutes time, we went from Belgium to Europe to Brexit and its technical issues, and now back to Belgium. I agree that this was a lot of information in a very short time frame. The upside of this is that there is a lot to talk about during the panel discussions. For my part, I would like to conclude, and I would like to wish you all the best. Maybe we meet in Brussels one day. And once again, if you have any question, do not hesitate to contact us. I don't have any cards anymore because they have all been taken yesterday at New Delhi. But my address, my email address was on the last slide. I don't know whether it's possible to show it once over. If you have any question, if you want to contact us, please do not hesitate. There are the facts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Schoten. Ladies and gentlemen, up next to speak on comparing Belgian and Indian business perspectives, I'd like to welcome on stage Mr. Hari Subramanian, Head India Operations, Coldred Group.
Good afternoon. Goedemiddag. So first, when we actually talk about Tata Group, for a lot of Indians, we feel the values, the culture, and a sense of pride. So if you go to Belgium and you talk about the Coldred Group, so we have pretty much the same thing. A lot of people that share the same values, the culture, and a lot of proudness. So I had the opportunity to work with both the groups. So for my first 13 years I worked with the Tata Group, and then for the last 5-6 years with the Colruyt Group. Just for a lot of people here to just take 30 seconds about the Colruyt Group. It's the largest food and grocery retailer in Belgium. It's close to a 10 billion group in the dollar terms. And the group is also focused a lot on energy, sustainable energy, and many other businesses focused in Europe, in France, mainly in France and Belgium. And here from India, for the last 10 years, we have our IT operations here in Hyderabad. So we have about 400 people here. And the last 2 years, the group has been very active here. We have also entered the renewable energy space here in India. And looking beyond renewable energy, also looking at some private equity investments in India to leverage our rich experience back in Belgium, how we can bring that back to India. So group is progressing quite well in that. So when I first started so today I'm not going to share about anything about numbers or anything. I'm just going to share my personal experience working from 2007 to 12, representative of an Indian company in Belgium, but now it's the other side, representing a Belgian company in India. So the roles have changed. When I first started in Belgium in 2007, I had the opportunity to first interact with a purchaser, a vendor relationship manager. And then I interacted with a lot of business leaders, then with software engineers, with architects. Then even when I was staying in Belgium, a lot of Belgians, they would say, it says that they are all born with brick in their stomach. And then I really experienced that when I lived there. When I had some problems in my house, the house owner comes in, pretty much he fixes everything by himself. Let it be a plumbing issue or electrical issue, just comes and fixes it, which is something very unusual to see in India. And then I worked with the energy experts the last 2 years, setting up the energy project here in India. We have a 40 megawatt project we commissioned in Karnataka. Then I worked with energy experts in Belgium. Then now I'm working with private equity guys in Belgium. So I work with a lot of stakeholders, but there is something which is very, in my experience, there is an underlying theme which I always experience. There is a very high level of craftsmanship, what they demonstrate and whatever the field they are. When I say high level of craftsmanship, they go in depth in understanding a particular subject matter or knowledge. So it's not just staying on the surface. Really go in depth. They have demonstrated a lot of professionalism and a lot of discipline in what is done. And nothing which I've learned a lot is the art of asking, before doing anything, the 3 questions, what are we doing, why are we doing, and then only we go to how are we doing. In my past experience, I always started with the how, with some assumptions, move forward. But this experience of starting with what, why, and how, it has been really a very enriching experience, which really able to bring it today here in the day-to-day whatever we are doing it. And with a lot of my Belgian friends, when they look at India and then our co-workers here, so beyond all the chaos or unpredictability what the market may have in India, the commonality, what they really see is the energy and drive and passion, what is there here, that lives here, and then the kind of scale and that we can bring in and the speed that we can bring in. So in generally, it's very complementary in what we have in terms of the knowledge and experience, what is there in Belgium and the kind of energy and the scale that India needs. So I really found it extremely complementary in the businesses, what probably could happen. And on the lighter side, also there is 1 or 2 things which I've seen. They also, both countries, the people, my friends, they crib about is one is I have to be very careful here is also about our bureaucracy and the policy. I've seen both the countries, they do crib about that, about our politics, and then the paperwork, that's something which is very common. But it's very relative, but it's very common. So that's something you do hear about it. But in general, I see a lot of potential in collaboration and then the way in which both the businesses can work together and transform and add value in whichever business we are in today. And with that, I will take leave, and then I look forward to hear the other sessions today, especially on the GDPR, on the taxes and everything. And thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I'm going to request all of you to please direct your attention towards the video screens on either side of the stage. We will now be having a video testimonial from Tech Mahindra.
So we primarily are in what we call the connected solution space. So we very much see ourselves delivering connected solutions, not just for the telecom industry, but all industry verticals. And for us, it's really about customer-centric solutions. My name is Tanveer Hussain. I am the Vice President, Head of the Benelux region, and also very specifically Country Manager for Belgium for Tech Mahindra. Flanders for us, if you look at the region and the connectivity that Flanders enjoys, both in terms of air travel, rail links, transport, road infrastructure, is actually located in a very central part, and that's one of the reasons why we really looked at Flanders and do business here. Flanders is seen as an area where, yes, okay, if you're doing business there and you're successful there, you're able to motivate and retain talent there. It's a good brand for us. I think one of the key points for us we found is the people themselves. It's a fairly multicultural society. A lot of them were very comfortable with English. They didn't expect everyone to speak the local language, and hence people are willing to change as well. Even from the local government, they are very willing to make it easy for us.
With Strategic Technology Research Center, IMEC, headquartered in Flanders, and a highly skilled local workforce, it's not surprising that many ICT development companies set up shop in the region. It's centrally located in the heart of Europe and has excellent network connectivity. When it comes to laws and taxes, doing business here is as easy as 1, 2, 3.
If you look at how Flanders is developing, and we see the focus that they have, that they need to develop the region, and that's what Tech Mahindra likes as well. We also know that we have to be a change agent. Flanders is in that mindset as well, and so we definitely see a long-term future in Flanders.
ICT also stands for Flemish Innovation, Connectivity and Talent. Connect with Flanders Investment and Trade and discover what we can do for your tech company.
That was wonderful hearing from an agent of change. I quite like that phrase. And I like the fact that he's quite proud of it as well. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, we have a panel discussion on regulatory framework and invest incentives. And I'd like you to all put your hands together as we welcome on stage our moderator and our panelists. So first, if we can invite our moderator on stage, Mr. Venki Vembu, Associate Editor, The Hindu Business Line. Sir, if we can have you on stage, please. Welcome. Yes. Thank you. And I'm hoping you all get a little bit more enthusiastic with the applause as we welcome on stage Mrs. Babette Desfossé, Customs Attaché, Embassy of Belgium. Mr. Philippe Desporto, Deputy Director, Inward Investment, Flanders Investment and Trade. Ms. Malini Dutt, representative of the Port of Antwerp to India. Next, we'd like to welcome Mr. Matthias Lommers, Senior Director, Global Employer Services, Deloitte, Belgium. And finally, Ms. Arya Tripathi, Principal Associate, PSA Legal. Welcome. I'm now going to hand the stage over to the capable hands of our moderator.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Can you hear me loud and clear? Yeah, that's good. So I'm Venki Vembu. I'm with the Hindu Business Line, which is one of the co-producers of today's event. And it's my pleasure and an honor to moderate this panel. I'll introduce the panelists anew in just a little while. I just thought I'll make some preparatory comments to set it up, the kind of nature of the discussion that we're going to have. So as Renat, the secretary in the Belgian Ministry of Economy mentioned earlier, in recent days, we've been reading newspaper accounts of everything that's happening in Europe, and it's been a downward spiral in the cycle of news. And it's very easy to get, fall into the error of imagining that the developments there, the discourse over Brexit, bodes ill for the European project in its entirety, whether the fact that the European Union came together, it was a force for good at all. But if, in my view, as an observer of everything that happens in the space, I believe that everything that's happening in the space right now, including the latest discourse over whether it should be a hard Brexit or whatever, validates the European project in its entirety. I mean, the fact that so many countries came together to create a common market is validated every day in every way by everything that's happening today. And I thought we might flesh it out in some aspects of those, particularly the regulatory and administrative aspects particularly with the investors into Belgium. So at the heart of this project, at the heart of Europe itself is Belgium, as we know, and it's a country that statistics will tell you that it punches way above its weight. In terms of per capita GDP, it ranks in the top 20 in the world, and it's top 5 in EU in terms of the ease of doing business rankings. And it's a wonderful place for startups. I've traveled in Flanders myself, so I can speak with authority about how culturally welcoming it is of outsiders. And I understand that 80 Indian businesses have found a sort of a home in Belgium. I'm surprised it's not more. And hopefully at the end of the day, we'll have many more people lining up. So transport and logistics, I think Malini will be able to speak with authority on that. And there are also big changes afoot right now in terms of what's happening in the corporate taxation space. I'm hoping Philippe will respond to that in a little while. Visa policies, big changes happening there, including a single permit. I'm hoping Matthias will add value to that. And Arya will talk on aspects of GDPR, which is the latest data protection regulation that's come in, particularly from the context of Indian companies that have to adjust to the transition, and if you could compare it with that. So there's never a dull moment in terms of what's happening in Belgium, and to discuss some of these aspects, I'll turn it over to the panel. Could I begin with you, Babette? I'm going to take the liberty of addressing you by your first name because I was advised by a Belgian friend that in the interest of averting a diplomatic incident, I should stick to first names. Yeah. So Babette, if you could talk about, I understand that you're the only customs attaché of a European Union country in New Delhi. What are you doing that others aren't?
Well, the others aren't there, so what am I doing? I'm there since 4 years, and I have like a double task. I assist Belgian companies who have problems exporting to India, and I also try to help out Indian companies who have questions or issues or want to know about the legislation. So yeah, that's what I do.
Mm. And in an era where protectionist walls are coming up everywhere, what is the overall philosophy that sort of underlies, the work that your office does? What is the philosophy that underlies it? How are you facilitating freer trade with your policies?
Well, actually, I work for the Ministry of Finance.
Yes.
I'm a commissioner of customs, so I just follow the rules. And in Europe, the customs legislation is EU legislation. So as a member state, we have our part in making the legislation, but of course, 27 others have to agree.
Yes.
But so what we can do as a Belgium customs, we promote our country as being a logistic hub, so I think we have a very important role there in facilitating when the goods come in, we have to do controls, but we can then do that in an efficient way. And that's actually what we try to do. And that's also why we have like people like me who are customs attaché to help out the trade, actually. So.
I'll come back to you in just a little while. If I could address a point with Philippe. I understand that corporate tax reforms are big in a big reform. Could you talk in general about that, and then we'll get into the specifics?
Of course. Good afternoon, everybody. As earlier been said, we are quite proud. Last year in the summer, our government decided to lower our corporate tax rate from 34% to 25%. And the good news is that for small and medium-sized companies, this will even go lower to 20%.
And how easy or difficult is it to start up a business in Belgium? Would you dwell on the regulatory aspects as well as the administrative aspects?
Setting up a company in Belgium is very easy. I had an example 2 weeks ago. I was in Australia talking with an Australian business, and they've almost set up now their company. Setting up a company does not require to be present as such. There are 2 important steps to take, but all of this can be done, of course, through proxy. You don't need to be present. Also, running a company implies very few requirements, and I see that I've been supported by some of the companies, some of the Indian investors that went through the process, and it's really very easy. Another perhaps important element to mention is that also the directors can be non-resident directors, so you can very much also run your company from India.
I'll come back to you again in just a little while. But if you could turn to you, Malini, in terms of the logistics is such a big part of, it's a force multiplier in terms of allowing for business efficiencies in Belgium. Would you talk a little bit about the importance of the logistics sector in general and the Port of Antwerp in particular in enhancing business prospects?
Thank you, Mr. Venki, and good afternoon, everyone, firstly. Thank you for that comment. We've been hearing a lot about, when we talk about trade between India and Belgium, about diamonds. But I just wanted to pinpoint on the subject of logistics, and I'd like everybody to know that Port of Antwerp, for example, contributes heavily to the economic prosperity of the Belgian economy. So just to give you an idea in terms of statistics, both in terms of jobs as well as value addition, we contribute to about 5% of the Belgian economy. In terms of value, that would be about 20 billion euros. And in terms of jobs, it would be about 1,42,000 jobs that we contribute to, which is about 3.7% of the employment. So that's huge, I think, and I feel proud to be associated with such an organization. Whereas when you look at the Indian seaports, for example, they're always talking about profitability. But the focus here is always on economic prosperity. So I think, that's how I'd like to possibly answer your question.
And we'll get into specifics about what your Port of Antwerp is doing to facilitate Indian companies that are investing there. I'll just turn it over to Matthias for a little while. How easy or difficult is it for investors and business people to get visas in Belgium?
Well, I can be rather honest here because I think I'm not the only Belgian who is not a government official here. But still, it's very good news. In the 15 years I have been dealing with immigration, I have seen that the consular authorities, the Belgian consular authorities in India, have been about the most efficient ones in India. And you can see that indeed in a matter of days you will be able to get a multi-entry business visa, which allows you to come over for usually 30 or 90 days. And you also see that upon arrival in Belgium, you are helped by the federal, by the regional authorities to set you up with business partners and to start your business journey in Belgium kind of in a positive way.
Thank you. Would you talk a little bit about that, the single permit that's coming up? How will it facilitate, how will it make it easier for people to come in?
Well, let me maybe start by saying that we do on a biannual basis a comparative immigration survey. whereby we compare the immigration scheme in Belgium with immigration schemes in the rest of Europe and a number of large economies. And every year, again, we do see that the Belgian immigration process is kind of the fastest and that it also has the least criteria. So you do not need to earn a huge amount of money. The process is quick, the diploma requirements are not too heavy, and there is no requirement to have kind of a lot of experience. And you see that also in Belgium. I think 35% of all the work permits for highly skilled people are issued towards Indian nationals. And with a new immigration scheme, indeed, single permit, which will enter into force on the 1st of January, this process will even be streamlined and become even quicker than it is right now.
Thank you for that, Matthias. Arya, in terms of the GDPR, would you be able to talk about what Indian companies have to do to be ready for the paradigm shift that entails in terms of the regulatory aspects of GDPR?
So if I have to give, well, this is one of my favorite things, to be able to talk about comparative jurisprudence and how comparative legal practices affect. As everybody knows, Belgium is obviously promoting a lot of startups, which means we talk about a lot of technology-intensive companies, which is obviously dependent on data as an internal and an external functionality. And in the same backdrop, India is witnessing a startup boom. So my own startup clients have been interested in exploring jurisdictions, specifically when they go to a stage of emerging growth companies, depending on various considerations, and definitely data protection is a big consideration. The Indian data protection scenario, to be very blunt and honest, is at its premature stage, and it's totally dependent on a consent regime. To the contrary, GDPR has progressed to an extent where I can today claim that it is one of the most robust data protection regimes that is currently there, balancing out not only the need for data subjects' right to privacy, but also companies' right to make sure that they are being able to use data as an asset. So it is a very it is dependent on how you want to view it, as an opportunity or as a cost factor. But to put it very objectively, yes, the data protection practices that Indian companies do follow will have to go to a paradigm shift if they have to invest in Belgium and they are dealing with personal data. So, I mean, I can go on and on, but in a nutshell, yes, it would require a lot of planning, preparation, and implementation processes. And I would congratulate actually that the Data Protection Authority of Belgium is, the website, if anybody is interested, can go and take a look. It's a lucid, easy to follow website. So that should be a starting point.
Thank you for that. Babette, if I may turn to you again for a minute. Specifically, what is the nature of the problems that Indian companies face with the customs, particularly the customs regime back in Belgium?
To be honest, I'm here 4 years and I did not have to assist them a lot. So I think it's quite different how it works in Belgium and how it works in India. But sometimes, because when you get an explanation from a Belgium, it always comes from their perspective. Like for Indian companies, it's very important to know that they don't have to pre-finance the VAT. Why? Because here, if you have a credit with GST, it takes a long time before you get it back. In Belgium, you get your money back after like 2 months. So I think that is like the added value I have, because I understand the Indian situation, and then I also, of course, I know the Belgium situation. So then that's why always they want to put everything in a bonded warehouse, because they don't want to pre-finance their VAT, which is not necessary actually, because we have a system to avoid this. So I think that is more my added value, not in like the practical day-to-day problems, but more in like consulting, which would be the best way if they want to do a setup, how they can go about with their products.
Yes. Philippe, specifically on the subject of startups, how startup friendly is Flanders a little bit more competitive in terms of, as a region, in terms of attacking startups more than others? Would you dwell on the regional strengths of Flanders?
Of course, we believe very strong and we support the whole startup scene very intensely. Also, not only our own Flemish and Belgian startups, but also welcoming startups from all over the world, especially also from India. We think it's very important for startups to be successful is that they're also going quite quickly global. And for Indian startups, Europe is a very important market. We see a very good ecosystem there. We have a very good financing system. There is a lot of capital, venture capital available for these startups, and also with a very good taxation and immigration system for startups. We think we are a very good starting place for them to develop themselves in a European sphere.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Malini, what kind of value proposition does the Port of Antwerp offer for Indian businesses that want to enter into Belgium? Specific value propositions that they offer.
So because this is an investment seminar, I'll possibly stick to the theme.
Yep.
So, as far as the proposition is concerned, within the Port of Antwerp, you basically look at a port as a gateway, but we are much more than a gateway in the sense that we also have about land deposits, huge land deposits available for investing. So we have about 88 hectares of land available. It's a zone called the Churchill Industrial Zone, which is available in whole or also in parts for international companies to set up businesses. And the type of businesses that we're looking at would be more sustainable, circular economy-focused businesses and more to do with industrial processes. So those type of businesses which come at a very concessional tariff rate, depending on various factors associated with it, like the surface, the nature of activities. So if a business generates more freight, that would attract lesser tariff, and so on and so on. The second thing that I'd like to highlight is we actually, Mark said it, we have the largest petrochemical cluster within Europe. So we have the top 10 global companies who either have their production or distribution centers within the port premises. And we have steam crackers within the port, refineries within the port. What I'm trying to tell you is that we have a very nice system where integrated chemical cluster, where there's opportunities for co-locating with any of these companies. And how that would benefit you would be by way of cost sharing, low capex, low entry barriers, and you can also get opportunities for O&M contracts. So that's the second thing in addition to the Churchill zone that we have. Two good propositions. And the third thing I'd like to highlight is we have ample warehousing space. So about 6.3 million square meters of warehousing space within the port premises, and at very decent costs. And because I'm from Bombay, I talk about Bhiwandi, if people are familiar with that place. So it's even cheaper than Bhiwandi. So if you're looking at possibly warehousing and distribution or consolidation activities within Europe, you could definitely, consider the Port of Antwerp.
Thank you for that. Matthias, to revert to the fast-track visa, what is the level of threshold that the Belgian government employs in terms of getting a fast-track visa? Is there a threshold, minimum investment threshold that investors must meet to qualify?
Well, actually, no. The requirement is if you set up a business, as Philip mentions, it is something which can be done in a matter of days even. I've known that business investors would come over to Belgium and in a matter of 2 weeks would meet their potential business partners. In the meantime, also set up the company and return to India, having the company being set up. So it is that fast that it goes. And we are also helped in Belgium. I mentioned we have 33 or 35% now even of highly skilled non-EU labor force are Indians. That's also hugely helped by the fact that we were the first country with which India has concluded social security agreements. So all the Indian employees who are assigned towards Belgium can benefit from an exemption from the rather high social security burden in Belgium and maintain covered by the Indian Provident Fund.
Yeah, thank you very much. Arya, just to conclude the thought on the GDPR, the difference you mentioned between the Indian regulation and the Would you cite one example just to make it come alive in terms of the risks that Indian companies face if they don't abide by the new regulatory regime?
The stalwart feature of GDPR is the massive penalties that it evolves. It's on a global turnover. So Indian companies with main establishments in India, if they plan to venture into the Europe, they have to, as a global group, like a conglomerate, comply with data protection because the penalty is calculated on the group, on the global turnover. And that is one thing that possibly has made Indian companies having operations in EU overall be very skeptical about how they are being impacted by GDPR. In fact, interestingly, GDPR just got implemented in the July of 2018, actually May of 2018. And since then, countries have reported massive rise in complaints, be it an unauthorized use of data or an access or a marketing strategy that has probably asked for data that is not required. So the number of complaints that get filed and when it can actually escalate into a situation where there is investigation into a group's data protection practices, how you manage privacy, what is your system for responding to data subjects' right regime. So data subject is anybody who is the beneficiary of goods or services that are being offered. How does it impact? What are your information technology practices? How you technically safeguard your personal data? All of this is going to go through a massive change because Indian companies, till the time GDPR was actually there, followed like the most popular standard of ISO 27001, which was considered optimal. But whether ISO 27001 is now considered optimal is something that is still debated. So the likelihood is that there would be newer standards. And I think there is an interesting opportunity for India because India is currently discussing and debating on its own data protection bill. There have been ongoing articles where everybody says that it's a shadow of GDPR. And it's an interesting opportunity for both countries because no matter what we talk about, penalties and all, how you implement in a cross-border situation is of significance. So mutual assistance between India and Belgium to ensure the data protection regimes are adequate will definitely be something that has to be looked up to.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Babette, you want any closing thoughts?
Well, I think if you want to come and invest in Belgium and you can speak to people who already did it, I think they will agree that we really, as a government, we try to be, we call them our customers, and we try to be as efficient as possible, and so that we are not a burden. But we're just there because, of course, customs has to be there at the borders.
Thank you for that. Philip, any last thoughts?
I would only invite you Indian businessmen and women to come over to visit our country, to seek assistance of the different agencies that at your disposal, and also rest assured once you invest in our country that also the three regional agencies will be a long-term partner. It's not just that we do the hand-holding while you're setting up in your initial phase of your investment, but also we want to make you grow in our country. We want to grow you into Europe, and we will be along your side during this process.
Doing business in Belgium, but a gate to Europe, and I think that's what Port of Antwerp also positions it as. So that's one thing I thought I'll highlight.
Anything that's left unsaid, Matt, visa policy space?
Well, one thing to mention is that since I started working 15 years ago,
I established the office, and initially the office space also they supported. They gave about
Spain, I don't remember now, that was 18 years ago. But I just casually asked him when he left his country this morning. And there was another driver from France, and he said he had left after lunch and he'd reached the port. So it really is remarkably at the center of Europe. And the ports themselves are really, I think, the engines around which a lot of the Belgian economy is built, but are also very key to the economic similar histories in the past have faded. I think it's a tribute to Belgian sort of practicality and business focus that these ports have not only survived but have grown and have become globally critically this thing. The other very, very interesting experience I had in Belgium was when I visited one of the pharma research centers in one of the universities in Belgium, which was actually the first time I saw industry-academia collaboration at work. It was an open source lab. There were large pharmaceutical companies, 3 or 4, which had stationed some of their scientists in the lab. There were university scientists, and they were doing 2 kinds of work. One was specific commission work for the company, which was private when the intellectual property belonged to the company. And the other set was a collaborative effort where scientists from these companies as well as the university scientists were working together to solve certain common issues. And that was open source innovation. The first time I heard that phrase, it's now a buzzword, but I heard that first in Belgium. So remarkable history of being foresighted and being ahead of the curve when it comes to innovation, particularly in technology, science. I think Belgium is known for that. And I think that's why some of these statistics which Mr. Mark mentioned in his opening remarks, that is, a country with half of Delhi's population is, in the top, 10 or top 20 in terms of GDP and productivity, that really shouldn't come as a surprise. So, I think, but at the end of the day, when businesses take decisions to invest outside their borders in a strange country, what works more than, yes, you can do all the reading up that you can on the rules and regulations, you can find out, but ultimately I think it is, the experience of other people like yourself who've gone, who've invested, those experiences actually serve as a much more powerful recommendation. So I think in the course of this discussion, what I would like you, particularly our panelists representing companies which have taken that step into Belgium, to share their stories of their experiences, because I think that brings across the challenges and as well as the advantages much more clearly to anybody, because you're not just talking academically, you put your money where your mouth is and you're sharing your direct experience of being there. So, but I would, first really start by looking at the question of, Brussels' centrality in Europe, Belgium, and how that sort of, gives, Belgium its competitive advantage. So, may I basically maybe start with first a personal experience, from C.S. Scott. Why did you choose Brussels?
Interesting question. Why did you choose Brussels? See, we are a small IT services company. When we started looking to grow in Europe, we already had delivery centers in Poland and a small center in Bulgaria. But that was not helping us to scatter across the Europe. Right, so then we reached out to the Belgium consulate and tried to understand what is that they can facilitate to us in terms of the support in terms of the manpower. Second, if we have a local resources, how do they can help for the rest of the Europe, right? So, we always has proud in say being a CSS Corp, we support about 21 languages. Right. So when we landed in Brussels, we found that we get a support for about more than 26 languages there, with the technical support. Right. So then there's no second thought for us to choose. Right. You get what you want, and then you get better than what you are in terms of.
Wonderful. But how easy was it for you to actually, because you had actually first entered Europe, as you mentioned, you were already there in Poland, and then you decided to move to Belgium and to Brussels in particular. So, how easy was the process? What kind of help did you get from the government or other institutions?
Okay. To be frank, we completed the company registration, formalities, everything in flat 2 days. Before Jean coming to Chennai, I had the previous team. Kathleen was here and Lawrence was there in Belgium, Brussels. So they helped us a lot. It's a scheduled plan. So we landed, picked up, and we landed in the evening. So we had a rest that day. Next day, we met the respective departments, administrative, legal, everyone. And then all the signatures, whatever required is done. Next day, they came and said, your company registration is done. And this is the registration ID and flat. So that's the easiest thing which I ever seen in my experience in the recent past.
Yes, remarkable. I think it sort of also sets out the kind of challenge India faces. I think we've sort of done the easy bit in climbing the ease of doing business ranks, but to get to the higher planes, like the kind of spot that Belgium currently occupies, we have a lot of work cut out for us. So I'd like to also ask you a little bit more. We've heard about a personal, individual experience, but in a more general sense, why or how is sort of Brussels key to accessing the European market? Here.
Thank you, sir. I would like to, first of all, thank Mr. Mark and the allied team from Belgium who have come here all the way to share this experience. As an entrepreneur, how we looked at moving out of India is something I would like to quickly explain, so that the people who have come here, if they want to take a decision, they need to know how to proceed. We have gone through the way, therefore I can tell in crisp a few minutes, tell how it happened. Like forming a company in Belgium is like this, but the time you take to decide on that is the most crucial thing. And the way they facilitate you to take that well-informed decision in a time frame is amazing. I think starting from Mr. Jayant Nadigar to Mr. Philip D. Potter, I think it's a well-oiled machine. It's something for us to really experience to tell what it is. We took a decision in about 10 days, but it was purely a delay from our end, nothing from their end, number one. Number two, when you choose a market to go, you basically want to understand what is the accessibility from that place to your key markets. Now here we found Belgium to be an ideal place because an average Belgian speaks 4 languages. You take a sales guy, he can speak German, he can speak Dutch, he can speak French and English. Now, where will you get this advantage of a sales guy speaking all the 4 languages? Then you go to the department, you want to start something, you go to the finance ministry, you go meet a lawyer. Everything, I think I have met Mr. Lomers about that in 2008 when we started the company, every data is available for you on a platter. Whether we have never, Babe was telling that I have not met anybody the customs problem. In India, customs is custom. There, customs is a pleasure to work with. Before the container reaches, you are informed everything about it. So we are a small company. We do about 140 crores turnover. Europe is one of our biggest markets. We used to go there earlier and we found out that we will be taken for a fancy ride. Then we decided to go there. Once we went there, from 12 containers a year, we are now doing 240 containers a year. The possibility to access one of the big markets has been very good. Then labor. In your country, labor is, how will an Indian go and work there? Belgium has social security arrangement, which means if you pay PF here, you need not pay for social security there. Very simple. You want a visa? I think the Belgium issues the largest visa in Europe to an Indian. So it works like this. You write to them. Next day, there's an automatic route. You get the visa. On the fourth day, the consul general calls up and tells you your visa is released. Amazing. And then you find the government department. I go and establish a company in Europe. There are exhibitions possible. There are marketing things required. They help you. About 3 years, all the exhibitions, Flanders Investment and Trade supported us to sponsor the exhibition, involved in marketing. So I will tell Belgian, to do business with Belgium is an amazing thing. And all that you need to do is just make one call to Jayant Nadigar. And then he is at your place to do everything. Wherein this, I think we talk about experience in our country, but I tell you honestly, it's a heaven on earth. Thank you.
I don't think you can get better this thing. Maybe Mark, you should think about winding up your consulate and actually putting these people as spokespeople for doing business in Belgium. So I frankly haven't, come across a more heartfelt testimonial from businessmen. Usually, what you hear from business people are complaints, saying, "Oh, these guys are so terrible. This place is so bad. Nothing works out there. It's so difficult to get something done." And you have a completely this thing. But since you mentioned Mr. Nadigar in such glowing terms, I'm going to turn to you and talk a little bit about the Flanders region, which economically, even within the Belgian Federation, is the largest part. Certainly very, very key. So it's also like, a lot of the Indian business interests in Belgium is actually concentrated in the Flanders region: diamonds, machinery equipment, pharmaceuticals, life sciences, and of course a lot of Indian logistics to Europe via the port of Antwerp. But it's also, and I think that fact is a little less known out here, that it's also the center of research and innovation. It's actually rated among the top 5 knowledge regions in Europe. So, so if you could share a few, insights about how this came to be about, what are the policies which help make this happen, and how they can help, businesses looking to locate in that region. How does it work?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you very much. I think in terms of Flanders, as many of the earlier speakers have mentioned, it's centrally located in Europe. And traditionally, Flanders has, medieval universities. You have the University of Leuven, you have the University of Antwerp, you have the University of Hasselt, University of Ghent. These are the strong medieval universities which have played the foundation role for the so-called knowledge economy, for instance. Now, this coupled with the SME footprint, as many of them give the view of what is Flanders economy is basically through SMEs. And there are the large tier 1 and tier 2 suppliers for many of the OEMs across Europe. So coupled with this academic and research institutes which has, and the industry which is built over industrialization, we have a large footprint of the knowledge centers having developed. Be it in the area of biotechnology, University of Ghent, or the semiconductor technology in Leuven. In fact, the University of Leuven is adjudged as one of the most innovative universities in Europe. I think that is the testimony to that particular aspect. Then you have University of Antwerp, University of Hasselt. These all contribute towards playing a major role in knowledge building. Now, once these aspects are taken on, or I think the companies developing, there are several knowledge centers which have developed. So it could be Flanders Make, which is supporting the process and the manufacturing industry. Then you have IMEC, which is in the semiconductor and electronics space. This is one space where, in terms of technology, you're seeing sub-7 nanometer fab lab, where in India we are still struggling at 150 nanometers. So I think we are talking about cutting-edge technologies where they can contribute towards several applications across the board. Now, you have IoT. I think a recent study from UNDP has specifically mentioned about the adoption of IoT in several systems, societal systems. Flanders is number 3 in the world. Why all of this is possible is because of the inherent knowledge of Flemish people. Say they are number 3 in Europe for mathematics, number 1 in mathematics and number 3 in science. And in the world, they're ranked 8 and 11. So there is a fair amount of knowledge base which is there. So you have these knowledge centers having evolved, say, the VIB, the Flemish Institute of Biotechnology, you have the IMEC for semiconductor, then you have Flanders Make, and then you have another one which is VITO, which is the multi-sectoral research centers. So all of these combined give the economy that push on knowledge base. But be it, I think if you really see from several segments of high technology, I think we all have contributed in the Indian GSLV Mark III. I think some Flemish company has played a role in building that into the space. So cutting-edge technologies are being used by the Flanders companies in helping several economies around the world. Now, highlighting all of this, and what we have doing is to really build the value proposition for these Indian companies to attract and establish themselves in the Flanders region of Belgium. We have developed a critical cluster, which I think, as Emerald has kindly mentioned, Mr. Krishnaram mentioned, we have auto component companies, exporters from Chennai area. You have them, be it Emerald Tires or Super Auto Forge or IM Gears or Autotech Industries. I have several colleagues present here in the audience today as well, that they have chosen smart logistics, technologically driven smart logistics based out of Flanders as their base to distribute to their customers, to be nearer to the customers. I think these are some of the factors where the underlying factor is technology, driven from these medieval universities, and then the vibrancy of, and more government is driving this with the ministry in itself. There is a Ministry of Innovation, which is helping all of this. So I think all in all the players playing the role in driving this knowledge economy and the digital.
Very brief follow-up question, just a quick answer, because you mentioned SMEs specifically, and then you have even cited some examples of essentially, relatively small players from this region. Tamil Nadu, as you know, is the home of SME sector in India. It's home to the largest number of SMEs, particularly in the engineering side of things. So, are there any specific programs or assistance that you offer SMEs to basically look to expand to Europe?
I think our focus has been across the board, and SMEs specifically, we spend more time because that's the holding hand system that we have. I think it's a seamless hand-holding facility that these SMEs get in trying to put their foot in. And each of these SMEs have different challenges, because across the board, then you have different challenges. So we spend our time as a seamless team from me to Philip. There is a seamless team which is there working. We identify what are the challenges, issues, and then why they are going there, and we help towards going through this maze so that they are able to achieve their objective.
Thank you, thank you. So, if I may turn to, okay, I'm going to call you Jean-François because I don't think I'll get your name right. But basically, turning to Brussels itself, the Brussels region, so it's in a sense the European Union's headquarters, the EU machinery is largely located in Brussels. It's central to the European decision-making process, but geographically, of course, we've talked at length about the centrality of Brussels, and there have been first-hand testimonials of its sort of multicultural kind of talent pool that we have there. But you know, just being geographically central is not enough to actually become the center of anything. You know, a good example is a small town called Sagar in Madhya Pradesh in India, which is the geographic dead center of India, but is pretty much dead. You know, hasn't really helped it to get anywhere. So how and why did the Brussels success story happen? What made it happen?
As you said rightly, it's the capital of Europe. So there you find all the nationalities. As you rightly said, you find people who can speak 4, 5, even more languages that can help growing your business. Because if you look at the 4 languages you said, you already can tackle half of the European Union customers. So this is one big asset. I would say, okay, it's centrally located. That's true. You know, all our neighbors say, yeah, we are centrally located in Europe. There is only one heart of Europe, that's Brussels. That's why we have the European Union there. That's why it's the capital of Europe. And if you look at the railway network, all the railways, fast trains are crossing Brussels. If you go to Amsterdam, you'll be there in 1 hour and 50 minutes. If you go to Paris, 1 hour, 20 minutes. And Frankfurt, 3 hours. London, 2 hours. After Brexit, I have to say Brussels would be a very good second choice for Indian entrepreneurs who already have a presence in London, because we don't know what will happen with Brexit. So this is a very good reason, because we have this connectivity, the talent, as you said, and these are the main reasons why Brussels is so important on the European market itself. So that's I would say why I would say Brussels compared to Madhya Pradesh is also centrally located. But there is the connectivity. You have no connectivity with Madhya Pradesh.
Yes.
So that's one of the major assets of Brussels, I would say, and also we have a government, I would say a government of Belgium, and we are very complementary with the Flemish region, with the Walloon region. Okay, if you come, you are an IT company, you'll come to Brussels because this is where you have the most jobs in the IT sector, most of the time. So that's why you have the Techma Indra is a wrong example because they're in the Flemish region. But you have TCS, Infosys, Wipro, they all have a presence in Brussels. Because also you can access the European tenders. You are just next to the biggest lobbying industry. Yes. So you are next to the lobbyers. So if you are a big company, you can also try to put your footprint and get regulation, you know, that will be favorable for you. So this is why Brussels is a central place, because you have all these institutions. You have NATO, you have international institutions that are present there for this purpose. And that's why you are really next to most of your customers. And that's the reason why a lot of big groups have their European headquarters based out of Brussels.
Okay. I'd like to now, get the other member of the Belgian Federation, a representative of the Walloon region, the Invest in Wallonia, to talk about, the kind of USPs that you have for your region, specific policies which are, I believe that you have, you're focusing a lot of attention on the high-tech and creative industries. It's clearly a sort of very, very competitive marketplace. When you come from outside the European Union, if you're not a European, for me, the first time I visited Europe, I found it difficult to tell, Italy apart from, say, Belgium. when I just looked out of the window, it looked pretty much the same, same kind of roads, same kind of infrastructure, same kind of houses, same kind of cars on the road, same kind of looking people, more or less. So what's the difference? But there is a difference. There is very clearly difference. There are regional disparities, and there are regional specialities. So what makes Wallonia tick?
Yes, so indeed it's not very easy to highlight one specific sector. The fact that we are a smaller country, which is very centrally located as well in Europe, makes it sometimes difficult for Indian people to understand that setting up a business in Wallonia or in Belgium in more general way allows you to access very easily the whole European market, which is like a 500 million consumer market. Passing from one country, I mean, basically the concept of Europe has also facilitated a lot the access to new markets. So foreign investors and especially Asian investors don't always realize that within sometimes only 2, 3, 4 hours driving, you can reach like very strong markets as well, such as the Netherlands, Germany, France, or the UK. Jean-François just mentioned about also catching a train. It's quite usual for Belgian businessmen to take a train or even a plane morning time and just to get back in the afternoon or evening time and target the whole Europe. So that's why I say it's difficult to highlight one specific sectors because Europe is quite strong in logistics, in automotive, in clean tech, in agro-food and life science, of course. So we have our own ecosystem as well in these specific fields. Now, in a more transversal way, our region has actually decided to plan a strategy which is based on science and innovation. That's why I'm talking about transversal, multi-sectorial. And in this purpose, you have, as an innovative company, a huge access to regional, federal, and European funds and tools to basically develop your product, whether it's fundamental research or experimental development. And actually, I mean, just an example, because no later than yesterday evening.
Again, have a person bring this discussion to a close.
We have a new by Invest in Wallonia.
Je définirais la Wallonie comme un îlot sacré, comme un pays qui veut tourner la page de son passé et qui veut écrire l'histoire de son futur. Je suis d'accord avec certains économistes et certains politiques qui disent le futur, c'est les autres. Et les autres, c'est la générosité. Et la générosité, c'est le progrès, l'innovation, le prochain. J'ai toujours dit, et je le dis avec de plus en plus de force et de croyance, c'est que le monde est ma scène et la Wallonie est mon foyer.
À 21 ans, j'ai décidé de créer ma chocolaterie. 3 jours plus tard, je produisais et je vendais mes premiers chocolats. Chez Galère, les exportations sont une pierre angulaire de notre développement. D'ailleurs, en Wallonie, 70% du chiffre d'affaires des entreprises est réalisé à l'exportation. Ça vous donne une idée à quel point le concept export est ancré dans les mentalités. D'un point de vue logistique, les principaux atouts wallons sont les infrastructures routières. On peut se déplacer rapidement, ainsi que les infrastructures aéroportuaires et ferroviaires, qui sont à la fois proches et adaptées aux entreprises. Nous, ça nous permet des approvisionnements efficaces et ça nous permet également d'envoyer nos chocolats rapidement au Japon, à Dubaï ou encore aux États-Unis. Donc, pour moi, de Wallonie, le monde est à portée de main.
Wallonia is a welcoming region for Google. We put one of our largest data centers there in all of Europe, and we've found that we have all the necessary ingredients to succeed. Wallonia has very, very good universities, and we forged a really good cooperation with the local university around our data center. So the skills there are very good. Wallonia has been very receptive. It has very good network connections for digital enterprises. It's 20 centers of excellence and 300 research centers that really are into the cutting edge technologies. And we at Google have one of our largest data centers for the entire world based here. There's a large number of institutions of higher education. I think all told it's something like 9 universities and 130 establishments of higher education in this small region. That's pretty impressive. So I've ended up feeling very happy to be here in Wallonia at the heart of Europe.
La Wallonie, c'est un endroit où vous n'avez pas d'extrême. Vous avez un genre de justesse. C'est la justesse de la convivialité, la rencontre avec les gens. Vous avez 29 restaurants étoilés en Wallonie et chacun propose sa lecture de la gastronomie. C'est vraiment une terre d'absorption, on absorbe vraiment les tendances et puis est relâché quelque chose de très très personnel. Ce que j'ai envie de dire aux personnes qui ne connaissent pas la Wallonie, c'est une terre de produits de niche. C'est-à-dire une terre un peu une terre précieuse, j'appellerais ça.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to invite onto the stage Mr. Ganapathy Ramachandran, Chairman SICI. Sir, if you'd please.
Dignitaries on the dais, distinguished audience and friends. On behalf of Southern India Chamber of Commerce and Industries, and on my own behalf, it gives me immense pleasure in expressing our gratitude to all those who made this afternoon's program possible. The sessions this afternoon were well crafted and 2 productive panel discussions of topical relevance. In fact, I was just telling Mr. Srinivasan, if we have to showcase what ease of doing business is, it came out entirely in the second session. Thank you so much to all the participants in the 2 sessions. While thanking each of you present here, I wish to take this opportunity to thank the ever-smiling, ever-generous Consul General of Belgium in Chennai, His Excellency Mark van der Ken, for giving SICI this opportunity to be the state partner. SICI and Belgium go back a long time. And this session today is further testimony to this proximity. The Chamber has organized several programs, and we have even had the honor of hosting a session during the state visit of the King of Belgium. Friends, you may be aware that Belgium was among the first European countries to establish diplomatic relations with independent India in September 1947. Our bilateral relations are warm and friendly and based on shared commonalities as 2 mature democracies committed to the rule of law, federalism, and pluralism. The India-Belgium relationship is truly outstanding at this time. The relationship is over 7 decades, and Belgium is amongst the first countries, as I said, to appoint and send an ambassador to India post-independence. India, as we know, is Belgium's 2nd largest export destination and 4th largest trade partner outside the EU, with a significant contribution from the Indian diaspora. India is Belgium's 2nd largest export destination and 4th largest trade partner outside the EU. The cumulative FDI inflows from Belgium into India amounted to US $896 million between April 2000 and March 2016, making Belgium as the 22nd largest investor in India. There are over 150 Belgian companies in India. Indian companies, as we saw, have also begun investing in Belgium. Several Indian companies, as was mentioned, particularly in the IT and software sectors, such as TCS, Infosys, Tech Mahindra, and HCL, have established base in Belgium to cater to the Belgian as well as the European markets. With these few remarks, I thank the speakers, participants, and other partner chambers for today's session. I venture to believe today's session will further act as impetus to foster closer trade relations between our two countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Once again, I'd like to thank all of you for being here on this afternoon. I'm hoping you found our panel discussions and all of the talks quite informative. We're hoping this is the start of some great business relations between businesses in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, and Belgium. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Consul General of Belgium to South India and the Hindu Business Line, we'd like to thank all of you for being here. We'd also like to inform you that high tea is served right outside the ballroom. Please enjoy our hospitality. It was truly our pleasure having you here. My name is Sahitya Jagannathan. It was my honor being your host this afternoon. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Maybe one announcement. So now it's basically 1 hour of networking high tea. So every partner has its table, every partner to the event today. So whatever questions you have, you go to the table you want to ask your questions to. So the regional trade representatives will have a table, and all the other partners, the Port of Antwerp, PSA Legal, and so on. Everyone has its own table, so don't hesitate to ask questions on a bilateral basis. Thanks.